I love me. Yes, I do. I love me on good days, even bad days too. I love the body I'm in, to live what life may bring, to delight in all my senses, to even think a thing. I love me from birth, I love me to death, because no matter what happens, I take another breath. I'm in awe of my feelings. Love is what it's about, but even pain has a purpose. It's me just looking out. I do love everything I'm doing. It's all me just meing. What a wonderful thing, this being a human being. I could have been a rock, I could have been a tree, I could have been nothing, but I am me, so I love me, yes I do. And for all the same reasons, I love you too. It's a glorious day on a planet I love. Whoa. Happy Valentine's Day and happy Sunday to everyone in the Hilltop community. Thanks for being with us on our virtual Sunday service. Wherever you are today, I hope you're feeling loved and know that we're sending you love and gratitude from everyone here at the community. And I'm starting with a song that I wrote about choosing love, even in the toughest times, choosing it when it's easy and choosing when it's hard. It's the best way we're going to receive love in this life, and it's the best way to give love in this life. The song is called I Would Love. If I were the scene, I would love to see you smile at me, walk the shore a mile with me. If I were the trees, I would love to shade you with my leaves. I'd clean the air for you to breathe. If I were you, I would love, I would love, I would love. If I were a song, I would love to be a symphony, all together in harmony. If I were the earth, I would love to give you all that you need, but you keep taking more from me. If I were you, I would love, I would love, I would love. I would love, I would love, I would love. And should it be so bad to wanna do something good when this world tries to bring me down? I would love, I would love, I would love. I would love, I would love, I would love. If I were a book, I would love to educate the youth, open minds just by telling the truth. If I were a pen, I would love to write to your friend. I'd be so proud of the love we sing, yeah. If I were you, I would love, I would love, I would love. I would love, I would love, I would love. Should it be so bad to wanna do something good when this life tries to get me down? I would love, I would love, I would love. I would love, I would love, I would love. If I were money, I would love to end poverty. Instead they keep on wasting me. If I were a gun, I would love to never kill anyone. Well, melt me down and make me something fun. If I were you, I would love, I would love, I would love. I would love, I would love, I would love. I would love, I would love, I would love.
welcome to Hilltop Center's virtual Sunday celebration for Sunday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Let's begin with a prayer. Know with me that always, everywhere is the divine. And what is the divine but love? The divine is the source of all life, and so it is the source of your life and my life, of every sentient being's life. And therefore, since we are a part of God, our essence is also love. So I am knowing today that in this place of unity, we receive the words of Reverend Guy, the music, and each other's presences to awaken this love to a greater degree. I'm grateful to know this. I let it be, and so it is.
Today's reading is about love and about cultivating love through spiritual or devotional practice. It's from the 13th century mystic and poet Jalaluddin Rumi, entitled Lover and Beloved. In the early morning hour, just before dawn, lover and beloved wake and take a drink of water. She asks, "Do you love me or yourself more? Really? Tell the absolute truth." He says, "There's nothing left of me. I'm like a ruby held up to the sunrise. Is it still a stone or just a world made of redness? It has no resistance to sunlight. This is how Halaj said, 'I am God,' and told the truth. The ruby and the sunrise are one. Be courageous and discipline yourself. Completely become hearing and ear, and wear this sun ruby as an earring. Work. Keep digging your well. Don't think about getting off from work. Water is there somewhere. Submit yourself to a daily practice. Your loyalty to that is a ring on the door. Keep knocking, and the joy inside will eventually open a window and look out to see who's there." Today's meditation is on cultivating unconditional love. We begin finding a relaxed position, whether that be sitting with our back straight or simply lying down. Bring your awareness to your breath. As you bring the cool air in through your nose and allow it to move through your throat, lungs, and your expanding belly. Notice too, when you exhale, the air has been warmed by your body as you let it go, emptying your tummy, your lungs. Now bring into your mind someone or some animal or a place that you absolutely love. You cherish this one. Notice what happens as this person becomes alive in your imagination. Perhaps a gentle smile unfolds across your face. Perhaps your feelings are of joy and warmth and even excitement. Allow this one to sit on the altar of your heart. This one you cherish This one you would do anything for if they were endangered. Continue with your breath, feeling now the inspiration of love as you breathe in and as you give back. Know that this one and this love is always available for you, awaits your invitation, can be called upon by simply finding a moment of stillness within yourself. You are indeed this love. You came from this love. And so it is natural for you to know and feel this in every aspect of your being. Be grateful to know the truth of your being. You are love, and so it is.
Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to our Sunday celebration this week. So many things going on. There is Chinese New Year, the year of the ox that we are now moving in. It's also Valentine's Day week. It is Sunday the 14th. It is also the beginning of Ash Wednesday for those in the Christian tradition, and we're moving towards Ramadan. So this week we are continuing our conversation on the path of love. And last week we sent a quiz out to ask the question, what is your love language? How do you speak and how do you receive the language of love? Do you do it by words or of affirmation, or perhaps of quality time? Is it important for you to give and receive gifts? Or perhaps it's acts of service, just being present to the other. Or maybe it's physical touch. I think that whatever the language is, it's really about being present to the other. To see them with a new filter, to not look at them with our expectations, but to truly appreciate the original expression of the divine that each and every person is. And the same with us. I love that spoken word that Lee gave at the very beginning of our celebration, speaking to this idea that who we are is enough. And that the power of love can shift us and change us in remarkable and wonderful ways. Anne Hillman, in her book, Awakening to the Energies of Love, says this: love whispers to us that we are not the small-hearted persons often portrayed by the media, nor the brittle public selves donned by television anchors with strident, stylized voices. It says that we are far more than consumers wooed by the advertising world, more than our jobs or our achievements, more than what we know, what we do, or what we own. It tells us we belong to life and are already far more than we think, and that we find both love and who we really are by following a different path, one that takes us to our roots. So as we are continuing in this conversation, I want to share with you that, the muses speak to me in very interesting ways, and at the most interesting and sometimes least convenient times. But one way that inspiration comes to me, I will say, is in the early morning as I'm waking up, and often it will come as a song. Now, I have to say that two songs came to me the morning that I was writing this talk, and one of them was an easy one. It was from the Byrds, and it was their rendition of this incredibly beautiful poem from the book of Ecclesiastes, which is in the Hebrew Bible. And I love this poem. There is a season for everything, and a time for every matter under the heavens. A time for giving birth, and a time for dying. A time for planting, and a time for uprooting what was planted. A time for killing, and a time for healing. A time for tearing down, and a time for building up. A time for crying, and a time for laughing. A time for mourning, and a time for dancing. A time for throwing stones, and a time for gathering stones. A time for embracing, and a time for avoiding embracing. A time for searching, and a time for losing. A time for keeping, and a time for throwing away. A time for tearing, and a time for repairing. A time for keeping silent, and a time for speaking. A time for loving, and a time for hating. A time for war, and a time for peace. I actually like how the birds sing it. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Turn, turn, turn. But I think what it speaks to is this. It speaks to the idea, the concept, the experience of balance. You know, we are an awakening being. We are an awakening species on an awakening planet in an awakening universe. But something that I believe deeply is that everything in our universe, if there was a universal law, it is about returning to balance. And I think that whatever our spiritual practice or what we define spirituality is, it's all about how we find balance, harmony, wholeness, our place in the universe. And again, going back to that wonderful reading from Anne Hillman, is this idea that when we love, when we experience the power of love, that it's not some external thing or some expectation, but it's really about our authentic self. And let's face it, our authentic self is the very best gift we can give to another. And truly, our authentic self is the only self that can give and receive love. And something that I want to talk about is perception of how we see things. And I talk about this often, but if we think in terms of harmony, balance, wholeness, authenticity, all these things come down to how we perceive the world that we're living in. You know, something that metaphysicians teach us often is this, is how we perceive leads to what we think. And what we think leads us to a thought. And a thought brings us to a feeling. And a feeling leads us to an action. And an action brings an experience. And so when we look around at our experiences, if we want to shift something or change something or tune something up, then the most efficient way to do it really is to go right up the food chain and change how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive the world in which we live. And again, going back to the spoken word of Lee, how do you perceive yourself? Because that's such an important way of judging how we experience the world that we're in. And how would your world be completely different if you perceived yourself through the eyes of love? How would your family, your tribe, your working world, how would that be different if it was perceived through the eyes of love. And of our nation, right now there was a really interesting article I was reading in the New York Times that was saying that for most Americans, they feel most threatened by other Americans, our own neighbors. How did that happen? And so it's almost an act of healing the world, our country, to begin to shift how we see them through the eyes of love. And something that I want to talk about in this is that, if our perception is clouded, then we raise the altitude and look at it from a different angle. And again, this is what spiritual practice is all about. This is what conscious mind is all about, to say, if I'm looking at things and I'm seeing fault or trouble, maybe it's the angle that I'm looking at it, and maybe if I rose to the highest level, the highest altitude, the altitude of love, I would begin to perceive things differently, perceive others differently, perceive myself differently. So our altitude really can determine our attitude on how things are. And this idea of living in balance, of finding the right altitude, this sense of harmony fluctuates. Don't you feel for yourself? I know that I do, that I can be different during different phases of the moon, during different seasons, during different times of day. Our ancestors understood this. They understood this idea of living within years and seasons, times and cycles. And right now we're in one of those cycles, we're in one of those seasons. We're actually in the season of the water bearer. And the ancients saw that there was a correlation between the starry world and the things that were going on within their life and in the world that they were living in. An example, this time of year, if one was to look directly east at the time of sunrise, they would see the constellation of the water bearer rising. Well, our ancestors saw that. And something that they also saw was this was the rainy season, right? This was the time when the rains literally poured from heavens down upon the earth and cleansed it and nourished it and prepared it. And so festivals, holidays, celebrations, myths, legends weave themselves into the rhythm of the year itself as a way of finding balance. Joseph Campbell says that when we practice ritual, then the myth becomes alive to us. And the mythos is how we are living in balance on this thing called Earth and how we're living in harmony with others. And so there are things that we practice different times of year. There's an author that I follow, her name is Dana Gerhardt, and she talks about this time of year, and there are 3 things that we can do to add to the practice of living well. And so if we think in terms of the waters coming, and yeah, there's a drought now. And there's a drought because we're out of balance. I'm reminded of that wonderful Chinese story. Perhaps you've heard me say it, or you've heard it before, of a village in China that was under a deep drought. And so they brought a rainmaker in, and the rainmaker came in and he sort of looked around and he built a hut, and he went in the hut, and there he was for 5 days. And then he came out of the hut and it started raining, and they asked him what was going on. And he said, well, I came to the village and I realized that the village was out of balance. And that the only way that I could bring the village into balance was to bring myself into balance. But because there was so much turmoil here, it took me 5 days to find that balance. And when I was in balance, it brought the environment into balance. And when the environment was in balance, the natural outcome was rain. Well, in many ways, that myth is alive for us. If there's something that's missing, perhaps it's because we're out of balance. And so our practice then is to find balance. And so this woman, Dana Gerhardt, had this article that I was reading, and she talked about, the timing of this time of year. And there are 3 things that add to the practice. The first is to cleanse. So think about your life right now. Is there something that needs to be let go, cleaned out? We often talk about spring cleaning, but it happens at the physical level, but it also happens at the conscious level as well. Are there thoughts that are sort of cluttering our minds that maybe it's time to cleanse ourselves of those thoughts, those ideas, those perceptions? Maybe there's something in our environment that triggers something, and maybe we felt, that we have some sort of emotional attachment to it or a sentiment about it. But if we think about it, it's time to let it go, to clear it out, to create the space for something new that's coming in. The second point is this, is as we cleanse, we upgrade. So we upgrade our thinking by positive affirmations, by visualizations, by nurturing our mind, practicing mental hygiene, by upgrading those. We look around in our environment, are there things that are broken, or maybe they're not in sync with where we are and they need an upgrade? So let me ask you this, what's going on in your life now that really needs an upgrade? And what's the story you tell yourself about why you're not upgrading it? So my challenge again is, as we clear out and we look at what we need to upgrade, it's time to do the upgrade. And then, and probably the most important one is this, is to celebrate the approaching spring. I think all of us feel a sense, what I'm calling cautious optimism. No, things aren't returning to normal, but something new is coming forward. Something new is beginning to emerge. There's every opportunity for us to feel optimistic about how things are going on, and to celebrate that, to live our life in the joyful anticipation, hope, of the good that we desire. We've created the space for it. We've upgraded the infrastructure. We're in that place of celebration, of joyful anticipation, and we're organizing our life around that. I love the story of Les Miserables. And Jean Valjean is just such a remarkable character. And at the end of the movie, his line is this: love well, because that's everything, to love well. And wouldn't it be remarkable if our epitaph said at the end of our life, Reverend Guy, he loved well. For him, it was everything. Or for you, that when people remember you, they remember you by saying, she loved well. For her, love was everything. And I think this is exactly what Teilhard says when he says, when humanity discovers love, we have discovered fire for the second time. That power, that force that heals and renews and restores balance and harmony. So yes, the path that we are on is the path of love. The path of love that restores us to harmony. And when we are in harmony with all that is, all is there. We recognize it. It's always been there. But our perception had been clouded. It had been existing in a trance of lack, a trance of scarcity, a trance of alienation. but we've been restored. And we see, as William Blake says, when the doors of perception are cleared, we shall see all things as they are, divine.
You and me, we speak the same language. Not just some words, it's everything. Got 2 tickets to where the sky meets the freeway. I feel every word every time we sing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How time slows down with you. And pick it up now. Here we go, here we go, here we go. And we're headed to forever. It couldn't get any better. We, yeah, you and me. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Cause we're doing it together. It couldn't get any better. We, yeah, you and me. I like who I am with you in vicinity. I like how I look looking through your eyes. We build each other up with a sweet affinity. Watch the ripples grow as it multiplies. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How time slows down. Here we go, here we go, here we go. And we're headed to forever. It couldn't get any better. We, yeah, you and me. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Cause we're doing it together. It couldn't get any better. We, yeah, you and me. We'll keep doing what we do and do it like we mean it. Not just some words, our hearts and souls. We take what we got and twist it into music. If it's coming to an end and I don't wanna let go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How time slows down with you. And I don't wanna pick it up now. Here we go, here we go, here we go. And we're headed to forever. It couldn't get any better. We, yeah, you and me. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Cause we're doing it together. It couldn't get any better. We, yeah, you and me. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Cause we're doing it together. It couldn't get any better. We, yeah, you and me. Yeah, you and me, we speak the same language. Not just the words, it's everything.
So thank you again for being part of our celebration. And again, I want to thank Lee for the beautiful music. I want to thank Craig for his lovely poem, his prayers, and his meditation. Craig is one of the many practitioners here at the Hilltop Spiritual Center. And we're watching that requests are coming in for prayer, and please know that we are praying. And if you'd like to set up a private session with one of our practitioners to pray with them, just to have someone be present, to listen, to be there for you, ways of contacting them are available at our website. I want to let you know also, those of you who live in the area where the physical Hilltop Center is, that we're hoping to open, and we're hoping to be open around the spring equinox, around March 21st. That's our goal. We have a lot of work to get ready to do that. Our tents did not survive the storms, and so we're having to relook and redo, but we're committed to doing it. So please stay tuned for that. Also, I'm very excited that we're starting some interviews. One is with Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. The other one was with Neil Donald Walsh. and then some of our musicians and other people. So things are starting to add up there. We have classes that have started and more classes are on the way. And again, I'm going to invite you to be part of the Hilltop experience. And you do that by participating in the level that you do. Jump on the prayer circles. Let us know what's going on. Take the tests. Reach out. We're there. But then also it is so important right now, for that continual and generous support that you offer. So thank you for that. And so, my dear friends, for those whom you love and those whom you receive love from, I wish you many, many, many blessings.